Hey gang, John Bacarella here with your Lake St. Clair Fishing Report, brought to you by Sportsmen's Direct. It is Friday, June 17th, and tomorrow is opening day for smallmouth on Lake St. Clair. And I know a lot of you guys have been fishing catch and release because we do have year-round catch and release, but tomorrow is the official opening day, which means there's probably going to be quite a few tournaments going on out there tomorrow, and there's going to be a lot of people targeting smallies that don't always target them. Like, it's kind of one of those family things for some folks, that they just go out on that opener, and it's kind of a big deal. So anyway, so if you're headed out there, what can you expect for these smallies? So there's still going to be some fish spawning, and probably in more localized areas, parts of the lake where the water is cooler. But for the most part, the spawn is done. There's going to be some smaller males in there, still garden nests and all that kind of stuff. But most of your bigger fish now, the spawn is done, and they are starting to move out. They are transitioning out to their summertime patterns. Water temperature is warming up. At Belle Isle today, when I checked this morning, was 68, and it's we got another hot one out there today, so afternoon temps down on the railroads is going to be in the 70s, I'm sure. So we're getting into a summer pattern, and the weeds are finally starting to grow out there, which is what we really need to start holding these fish and grouping these fish up again. And it's been kind of a slow start for weed growth this year, I think mostly just because of the colder water temps, but the weeds are starting to grow. So that's going to be one of the things you're going to want to focus on out there, is some deeper water, 10 foot and deeper, and start looking for those weed pockets, those grass beds, and if you got some rock mixed in with them, all the better. So you guys know those summer spots already, so now it's time to get out there and start checking out those summertime areas. It doesn't mean that all these fish are just going to shoot out to the channel or go out real deep, because the water is not super warm yet. The water is still very comfortable, and there's still a lot of bait fish in tight. And now we also have the mayfly hatch going. So, and I know some of you guys want to hang everything up when the mayflies start hatching, but the reality is these fish are still feeding, and it's not all just on mayflies. And when it is on mayflies, your peak times in the mornings and the evenings are when your peak bite period is going to be for that. Now, for the smallie guys, we did hear about some pretty good topwater actions already going on these mayflies, and that's just going to continue. And next week, the forecast is for like some blazing hot weather, but like this weekend, it looks like you're going to have some really nice weather. Maybe Saturday might be a little bit windy out of the north, but Sunday looks like the pick day as far as the wind goes. That wind is going to be like light and variable on Sunday, and we're going to have much cooler temperatures Saturday and Sunday before we get into that heat wave next week. So let's talk a little bit about that north wind that we're supposed to get tomorrow. And I don't know if they forecast how hard it's going to blow. It looks like it's going to be blowing at least over 10. That north wind is one of those winds that I like, especially like if you're going to be drop shotting, or even if you're fishing for walleye. Regardless, I like those winds out of the north, because it gives me a nice parallel drift, especially if I'm going to be drift fishing, that you can cover a nice depth of water. You can stay on that same depth of water for a long period of time when these fish are associating with a certain depth. So that's one of the reasons why I like that north wind. The other thing about the north wind is it tends to lay the weeds down in Lake St. Clair, even though I know we don't have the weeds up really high. But generally, when you get a north wind, you get much more current, because everything is flowing from north to south anyway. So when you get a north wind, that water velocity picks up, those weeds lay down, those fish get much more active. You get a nice chop on the water, which for you walleye guys usually means a lot more fish activity, combination of less light penetration, winds laying those weeds down, and bait fish having to move around or school up for protection. So anyway, so I do like those north winds if they don't get too extreme, because it can get crazy out there once you get out past the point at Metro with a north wind, because that water's got a long distance that it can really get rolling out there. So just bear that in mind if you're out there this weekend. Still a really good bite going up on the St. Clair River up there. All the channels, St. Clair River, you just got to hunt until you find pods of fish, okay? It's going to be an on-again, off-again thing with those fish. Some areas are going to be hot one day, and then they're going to cool off. So you really got to move around until you find just a good pod of active fish. That South Channel has been that way. It's been on again, off again, probably more on than off though, however. It seems like that fish, those groups of fish may stage there outside of the channel, and then sometimes a pod will move up, and so you actually have to go up in the South Channel and find them again wherever they've stopped. Getting some good reports down there out of the dumping grounds as well. And if you remember last week I talked about fishing that northeast corner of their dump. Well, I also got reports of just huge numbers of fish down on the south end of the dump too. Some of these fish are Detroit River fish that are just working their way up through the lake. And some of these fish may stay out there as long as there's good weed growth and good bait fish out there. And that Detroit River is still producing limits of fish down there. So, don't be afraid of white bass. It doesn't sound like that white bass run's gotten too crazy. It sounds like it's really like, it's slowed down quite a bit. And the guys that are still running crawler harnesses and even some jiggers still down the Detroit River are still taking, really easy limits down there still. So don't be afraid to go down and fish that Detroit River either. Just let the wind direction and the water conditions determine where you're going to fish out there. There's a lot of water, but that also gives you a lot of different opportunities depending on which way the wind is blowing, so that you can get into better, more favorable conditions to whatever way you want to try to go out there and fish, whether it's drifting, trolling, or casting, whatnot. So pay attention to those wind directions. Let's see what else we got going on. I want to talk a little bit about one of our pro staffers, Isaac Hanna. He's been out there and he's been fishing the way I really like to target these fish, especially this time of the year, and that is to either use your side imaging technology to find these good isolated weed beds. And Isaac's been catching fish like out in the middle of the lake, basically on the American side. So, no specific locations, just moving around until he finds a good weed bed and marks some fish, and then goes upwind of those weed beds and then casting swim baits like the Kitech Easy Shiner, like 3.5 and 4 inch. And he's been out there throwing those swim baits, and he's just been taking some phenomenal catches of walleyes out there. And if you haven't caught them this way, it's a blast. I mean, it's fun to catch them pulling boards and pulling harnesses and all that, but I think it's a lot more fun catching them on a little bit lighter tackle and throwing either some smaller cranks or throwing swim baits like Isaac's been doing out there. The fish actually fight pretty darn good when you catch them that way. They fight a lot better than when you got all that hardware on them and heavier tackle. So I encourage you to go out there and do that. If you don't have side imaging, then do it the old-fashioned way. Troll around out there or drive around out there using your electronics. But trolling is a good way to do it. You can run your traditional bottom bouncers or planer boards or whatnot, and then when you get on a good group of fish, either spot lock them or do the old-fashioned way and throw out a small marker buoy like on the edge of that weed line, and then go back upwind. You can even anchor up or again spot lock using your electric trolling motor, and then go back and cast to those weed edges and work that weed bed. Sometimes you just have to move around on that weed bed casting, but once you get into them that way, it's just a blast. And you'll catch all kinds of other incidental fish doing it that way too, because you're working structure. So you'll catch smallies, you'll catch big perch. You may catch a muskie or two, but it's kind of hard not to catch muskies out here sometimes. But anyways, that's just kind of a tip for going out there this time of the year. One of the ways that I like to fish these walleyes, and it's a real fun way to do it. But St. Clair River is still going. The guys are catching them at night, although the whippers are starting to experience the mosquito fest out there. The mosquitoes are hatching, so that can be a problem out there at night for the whippers. Guys casting from shore are still taking great numbers of fish from shore. Just a lot of fish in the system, guys. So, you can catch a lot of walleyes a lot of different ways right now between the St. Clair River and main lake of Lake St. Clair and the Detroit River. Muskie fishing still going strong, albeit a lot of it's over on the Canadian side at this time of the year. Charter captains are running over there. I feel for those guys because the crazy high cost of fuel for everybody and oil and everything else. I mean, we're all experiencing it, and these charter captains are really experiencing it big time right now. And it's really rough on these guys because the captains pretty much were shut down for a whole year with the pandemic, and then last year was pretty decent year, at least started to get a lot better for them, and now this year with the crazy high fuel costs, I know it's affecting them. So if any of you guys out there have got already bookings with any of the charter captains, anywhere here in Michigan, I would ask you to please, you know, bite the bullet. I know it's expensive for everybody. We're all trying to cut back, but please don't cancel on these guys. Still honor those, you know, those reservations, and help these guys out, because I know a lot of them are trying to hold prices where they are, and it's really tough for them with the crazy high fuel costs that they're experiencing. You got guys out here that are still running like multi-species charters, like Garrett Samsel and Spencer Berman out here. You also have some, there's an interesting guy out here, Mike Martin Outdoors, and he's kind of a hometown guy, but he operates a lot in the summertime up out of Saginaw Bay. But he's been known to come down here as well. And he does like a learning charter. Well, he'll basically take you out there, and I think he even uses, he'll even use your boat. He'll go out there and he'll actually help teach you. I think he calls them teaching charters or something like that. But it's kind of an interesting concept for a lot of you guys that are new to fishing. Maybe you got a boat, maybe you don't even know how to really operate all the bells and whistles and gadgets that you got on there, your electronics and all that stuff. Mike can go out there and he can work with you and actually help teach you how to use the equipment that you've acquired, which is I mean, that's just, I mean, that's priceless, honestly, because he can save you a lot of aggravation with a lot of different techniques and products, and like I said, electronics and all that stuff. So it's kind of he's got kind of an interesting thing going that he's trying to do, and it's going to help him hopefully weather this lousy business climate that we got going on for the charter captains right now. Let's see what else. I'm trying to think if I got anything else for you guys. Perch fishing, not getting a lot of reports, but fish should be showing up out there by like that B marker out by the St. Clair Light, dumping grounds. Again, it's going to be a weed-oriented thing, especially with the mayflies. Usually those weed areas are also going to be where the mayflies hatch from, as softer bottom areas. So those perch ought to be out there by those weeds now, especially deeper water, as these weed beds are starting to come up finally out here. So that's all I've got. I know it was a lot this weekend, but best weather pick day is going to be Sunday probably. Saturday is going to be wind out of the north, but again, still not unfishable if you just use that wind to your advantage out there. So bass opener this weekend. Hopefully we see you guys in the store in the next few days. Hey, if you like this video content and you want to get updated as soon as the next video is out there, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon, and you'll get notified as soon as the next video is up.